A late 80s slasher with lots of TNA. What more do I need to say? Today we're talking about Rush Week. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, it's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a late 80s slasher that eked its way very closely into the end of the 80s and has every 80s trope in the book, minus one, which is very important to this video. But today, if you're watching this on day of release, it is my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I'm getting closer and closer to 40 every year. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. You just have to imagine. Before we get into the film itself, if you would consider going down there, hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button, hitting that notification bell, and possibly sharing this. So my videos are about weird and obscure slashers, so they don't always get pushed into the algorithm. So if you would do me a favor and just go down there, share with anybody you think would be into these type of videos. And if you have any movies that you think I should cover that are weird and obscure in this genre, let me know down below. And if you've seen Rush Week, what do you think about it? All right, let's get into this. So I really like this film. I decided to pick this film. It's not the biggest film that I could cover on my birthday for my birthday video, but I love Rush Week. It isn't the most gorific movie. In fact, it has zero gore in it, which is one of the things I actually do like about What Is Weird. And it stands out amongst the 80s slashers because there is zero gore in here at all. There's like some blood droplets at one point, but there's no gore in here, which is weird. But you do get your staple tits and ass, and you even get some dude ass. So whichever way you align, you're gonna find something here to love. What this film is about, we follow Tony, who is a reporter for her school. While meeting with the dean, leaves her recorder in there, and then that leads her to find out there's a student whose roommate is missing, and that leads her on a path to find out that there are actually these killings that are going on campus. So basically the thing is that these students are going to take nudie photos with this creepy dude in the science wing because there's no security apparently, and everybody can just walk in whatever the fuck they want. I guess it's the 80s, so times were a lot different. But that's kind of your plot synopsis. The back of the box is very long, and I typically read that, but I'm like, it's a fucking paragraph of what's happening in this movie. It's more of a murder mystery than a slasher. Like I said, anytime that a kill is about to happen, you see our like titular character. So there he is. He's pretty cool. He's got a battle axe. Very iconic for like being a like lower budget movie. He has the battle axe. He's got like this fraternity like old man thing and a robe that he walks around with, which does come into play later on in the film, but that's kind of his style, and I really like that. However, again, there is no gore, which is weird. So you see him like swing the axe and then nothing happens. It's weird. It's almost like, oh, where is the gore? So I don't know if it was a budgetary constraint or if it was just like the director's vision to not have any gore, because like I said, there's lots of tits in this movie, so it's definitely would be a rated R movie. This is an unrated version of the movie, but I wish there was at least some gore. But I do like that this does have a different feel in that it is more telling a story than some of the other 80s slashers that are just killer versus sexually active teenagers. This doesn't have that so much. We're following Tony, and like I said, she's investigating these killings, and you find out that the nudie pictures that they are taking are actually, you know, coincide with the killings, because you find out that the killer is doing this to purify the world, basically. So you kind of, the robes come into play a little bit, even though they're tied to a fraternity, because that is our red herring. There's a lot of red herrings throughout this film that involve different people, and they're like, maybe it's the guy taking the pictures. Maybe it's the love interest, Jeff. Maybe it's the dean whose daughter mysteriously died a year ago, and he doesn't want to investigate these things at all and shuts it down at every turn that Tony tries to get him to investigate. So you know right away who the killer is. We're not spoiling anything. It's definitely the dean, because at one point he is like, Tony comes to him and he's like, hey, this girl's missing. And he's like, look at this computer. Look at this 1980s computer. Anyway, she's missed half her classes. And I could in no way objectively change any of that as the dean of the school. I couldn't go in here and delete this and make them incomplete. You're barking up the wrong tree. It's clearly Jeff who's acting very suspicious, you know. He's never here when he needs to be. He was wearing gloves at one point that were black, and we saw a guy in the locker area who had black gloves. So clearly, it's Jeff. A lot of red herrings. Like I said, every trope in the book for the 80s is here. I like all of that. I like the story that we're telling, and it never wavers from telling that story. Yes, you do get like the tits sprinkled out. It's it's like a little cake. You're just decorating it with, the topping is the nudity. But the core here, our inner cake. I didn't mean for this to be like a birthday cake reference. We're getting the ice cream in the ice cream cake is the core of the story. And overall, I like all of that. I think our characters are all great. It's well acted for this type of movie. And I just think it tells a compelling story. It's missing two things. So a first one is gore. Obviously, there's no gore in this film, which in hindsight, I don't know if it would have distracted from the film at all because I've only watched it without gore. So adding it in, I think maybe would have elevated it, maybe would have pushed it into the consciousness of more people because you would have remembered it for that. But the second thing is that I think the ending is kind of weak, and not necessarily the ending of the film, but you know who the killer is, so that kind of takes the wins out of that sale. But I think just the last battle is kind of corny, but I mean, this probably was very low budget, so I mean, you kind of get that. The one thing I do like is that we do get like a fake out to a fake out where the robed man, because Jeff is in a fraternity, he actually wears the robe as well, and she's chasing him, and you think that that's what's going to happen, is that you're, oh, she's finally kind of, motherfucker, it's Jeff. I knew it was Jeff. And then all of a sudden, somebody hits her, and it's the dean. Like I said, it's always been the dean. He had access to all of this stuff, and you get the sense you're like, okay, obviously his daughter was probably a part of taking nudie photos, and he murdered her to purify, and now he's just covering it up by doing all these other murders, and he's obviously insane. So overall, I just really like this movie a lot, and I do want to talk about this release for a minute. The Vinegar Syndrome release is very good. I had only ever watched it on TV and then a DVD, which I don't have anymore, which apparently that DVD was very expensive back in the day. It's still like $20. I actually eBayed it and I was like, oh, this thing's still $20. So for 2023, a movie that is this old and on DVD to still be $20, I mean, you can pretty much get this release for $20, but I think that's how most people watched it. So Vinegar Syndrome doing this, they do a lot of great work. They're my favorite boutique by far, hands down. I just like that's why I cover a lot of their stuff, because I just think they do interesting and cool stuff. Some of it is exploitative, yes, but I do like that they are bringing light to some of these more obscure and, outdated slashers and just other genre picks that they do. So I do like this release. I think the video here is very good, and all I remember of it is the TV version, so it's definitely a step up from there. And that's all I've got to say, man. I really like Rush Week a lot. There's a lot to love. I didn't want to go into like full details of the whole plot. The killer is very obvious. As soon as you watch this movie, you're like, yeah, I see, it's the dean. That's not really spoiling anything because you would get it right away anyway. But the plot points, I don't want to give too much away. Typically, I try to navigate these things, but I don't want to spoil this movie because I think it's a fun movie. We're also going to be covering House this week, which I really like, which was a first time watch for me, and I actually did get the full like 4-pack bundle for my birthday, which is pretty cool because I've never seen any of those movies, so I picked up the Arrow thing. I don't know where it's at. I would show it to you, but it's not on my shelf. I think it's in my living room. But anyway, we're going to be covering that, so I'm going to be doing that review later this week, so look out for that review. Hit that bell and that'll notify you when I do that review. That's it. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I really love Rush Week. Like I said, if you like this movie or if you've got any other movies you think I should cover, let me know in the comments below. And I will talk to you guys later. I'm going to link some videos at the end as always. I really appreciate all of you guys stopping by and watching my review. It does mean a lot to me. I am about halfway to a year, a little over, I think I'm at like 8 months, so we're getting closer to the year mark of doing this. I've really enjoyed doing this and growing as a content creator. Hopefully I can do more in the future on this channel. I love what I do, and I hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. I know I do cover more obscure stuff, so the journey is an arduous one here, just getting subscribers and stuff like that, because it's obviously a niche and a niche and a niche, but I enjoy doing it. I hope you guys enjoy watching, and I'll talk to you guys in my next review.